great retirement experience, meaning you have a greater experience that is better than when you're working.
Absolutely.
The good retirement experience, meaning that you are able to match up the same experience you have when you're working when you retire. And the poor retirement experience, meaning that your retirement experience is going to be worse than when you were working. So the question to you now watching is, which of these three are you planning for? That's it. Hello, Your Excellency. How are you today? It's the Morning Mindset with Razak. I hope you enjoyed the last episode. If yes, then hit on the subscribe button, like this video, and drop your comment. Today, I'll be talking about retire rich. But let's come to the next question, Dr. Lai.
So the next question to ask is the one you actually answered for yourself. When do I want to retire? You don't get there and then start asking that question. You ask it before you start your journey of your work experience, your work life. When do I want to retire? Do I want to retire at 60? Do I want to retire at 50? Because that determines what you have to do to ensure that you can retire well and enjoy whatever experience you also want to have in retirement. So it's very, very important for you to decide, when do I want to retire? Not something that is decided for you. You have to take charge of your destiny before your destination and your journey to your destination started. You must have the end in mind. When do I want to retire? And that's why it's very important. I'm excited that you actually picked age 50, where you really want to end it working for anybody. Now, that also goes to speak to what actually is retirement, because obviously what you're saying is you don't want to work for people, but it doesn't mean you're going to stop working. So the question about retirement, so even in terms of retirement, there's partial retirement, there's full retirement. So what you are actually talking about is what we call partial retirement. And I covered a lot of that also inside my book. It's partial retirement because you still want to work, but you don't want to work for someone.
So you've talked about those two questions.
Absolutely. So experience, where do you, what kind of experience do you want? And when do you want to retire?
What's the third one?
The third one says to you, it is not when I retire that's so important. Your former once said that. It is what income. What income do I want to retire at? And that speaks to a whole lot of things. That speaks to your financial well-being in retirement. That's a very critical pillar of retirement planning. So at what income do I want to retire?
Hold on to that, Dr. Lai. Hold on to that. Particularly on this financial well-being. I remember my first episode on the Money Mindset with Razak. I asked a question. Out of the 26 questions, I asked people to assess themselves. And I often ask that question, like, do you have up to a minimum of 72 million naira in your retirement savings? So I'm going to ask you, because a lot of people are like, what? 72 million? I'm like, 72 million naira is nothing in Nigeria of today, because it only means 200,000 for 30. If you are collecting 200,000 every month in your retirement account, 1 year, 2.4 million, 30 years after your retirement, that's 72 million. So even if you want 400,000, because you've talked about quality of experience, that's 144 million.
Absolutely.
Where does that financial well-being? Because what people always believe is that once they save money in their retirement RSA in Nigeria, for example, their pension account, they are good.
It's a big one. Generally across the world, there is a retirement pension crisis that is coming and looming. It's the same experience in the US. They talk about 401k. In other places, they talk about retirement savings. We are blessed in this country that the government actually has enforced, the provisions of pensions for everybody that is working. Outside of this country, it is voluntary. Your employer may decide to make contributions, and when you decide to work for them, it is at your choice of working for them if they pay you pensions or not. Now, let's get back to the question you asked. How do we manage that whole conundrum of saving enough for retirement? And we are still going to talk more about, how do you achieve that financial well-being? But it's the starting point to start the journey of retirement planning is knowing what will you need for retirement. And that was why you mentioned the number that you picked, 72 million, for 10 years, or 72 million, and then 144 million for 20 years. Across the world, studies have been done, and they vary from place to place. The numbers are not as exact, but they give a range of what you need to retire.
So what's the range in
Nigeria?
So
in Nigeria, now that depends on the quality of experience you want. So it goes back to the first question. So what would 200,000 buy you in this current country called Nigeria?
So give a range depending on the quality of it. If you want a good, because at least people say, okay, let me stay in the mid list of good experience.
So we've done our research. We've done a research, and you can also take advantage of this. We have a retirement calculator on our website you can use. It's one of the best gifts we've given to this country and our generation, because I never had that before. We've done a very lovely research of looking at how much you need, to spend every single month if you're going to have a decent basic life. If you're on band A, if you're a band A candidate in Nigeria, the least you probably will spend every month is around 500,000 naira. Without school fees, without every other thing, without even your rent, 500,000 naira to live a very decent life. I'm not sure how much
Every
you pay.
month.
Yes, I'm not sure how much you pay, Razak, now on your gas, on your petrol. The average Nigerian will spend 100,000 naira every single month.
I have to
committed to work.
I have to run and choose renewable energies.
So let's just pick your. Even if you are using CNG, how much do you spend on your gas? How much to buy your cooking gas is like 15,000 naira. If you're on band A, you are spending like 30, 40, 50k, a month if you have consistent light. Now if you switch to to solar panel and all of that, you may have some savings. If you go to the market, how much does a full piece of gold cost currently?
So let me do a punch on this.
Yes.
A band A person who wants 500k means that if you for 1 year, that's 6 million.
Absolutely.
So if you retire at 60
and you want 20 years
and you want a
of life,
20 years experience of life, it means you should be doing
120 million
minimum.
So what that means, let me quickly say that you needed to have saved 120 million
before you retire.
Absolutely. Who saves that? Question: who saves that?
I might be able to do more. And that's the essence of this information.
That may not be savings.
That's the essence of this information.
Because very few people collect
themselves. Can I have a 1 billion? Can I have a 500 million?
Absolutely.
In terms of my worth of investment before I retire.
Absolutely. So let's also mix.
So let's look at band B.
All right. So for a band B, you are looking at your 200,000 naira bracket that you mentioned, and it still comes to 144 million. You are looking, once you pick, it's not difficult. Take out some basic expenses that you have now that you shouldn't have at retirement. There are some expenses that should not be incurred at retirement. One of them, if you can afford it, you shouldn't have children still going to school. If you can.
But I'm sorry.
At times it's inevitable, but if you can, it helps you with managing your cost in retirement. You shouldn't be paying rent. If anything, you are paying land taxes, you are paying all the ground rent and all of that. But those are major expenses that if they are out of your way, your expenditure profile becomes a little more manageable. But if you haven't been able to do that, and the way it is for so many people who haven't even had the opportunity of marrying into their later stages and ages in life, that's an inevitable outcome that you are going to face. So you must plan for it. That's why it's good to plan now, because you may not be able to determine that. Some people have married early, but they had some challenges having children and delays having children. So you are going to raise children whilst you are in your retirement. So what do you do? Because that is a killer. You pay school fees from that 144 million. You are going to be on the streets.
And you pay rent.
You pay rent. You don't have a place of your own. Absolutely. So those are the kind of things you want to settle before 50. For instance, with your age you picked, you must settle a whole lot of these things so that you are less burdened with some costs that are chunk expenses that would wipe out your savings, or like we're going to talk about, your investments. Because obviously across the world, you cannot save enough for your retirement. Savings will not save you.
I love that.
You cannot save enough.
You cannot save enough.
You cannot.
And I really think this is one of the things I've really talked about over time, that people, we are all taught that you need to save, but we never had the culture of investment. I'm sure probably in one of my next very soon episode, we'll be talking about investment and the core of it. But let's start breaking it down. There are many people who are in their 30s, late 20s, early 40s to 50s who are watching this program right now. Particularly for those who are still young, because some will be in their 50s like, what do I need to tell my children if they need to plan retire age? What are those 7 young mistakes that, let's maybe even 5 or 7 mistakes that you've seen young people doing about retirement, and what are the solutions to it?
Thank you very much. You're too young. Razak, you can look back at the last 20 years where you thought, oh, I'm still a young man. We saw a few days ago and I said, oh, you've put on some weight, Razak. When men were men, when we were young men, it looked like yesterday. When I turned 50, I started denying it. I started denying it. I'm young. Then you start telling yourself,
I'm young.
Age is in the mind. No, you are old. And if you don't admit it, your body will start telling you that stuff I used to do. I used to jog. I walk now because my knees are telling me you want to go to the physiotherapist very soon. Because your age is your age. Why you deny it? Why you don't look it? Your body is aging. One of the critical things that is left out of retirement planning when people are told about retirement is that there is an aging process. Deny it all you may want. You are growing older. Your body can't take what you took while you were younger. While you were younger, we could hit anything. You don't dare try certain things now. So that is a reality and inevitability of life. You will grow old. Some of us we were looking back at when we were in university. It was just like yesterday. I couldn't believe it. Our children are entering schools. They're entering colleges. Some of my classmates, their children, their grandparents. And then you start denying it. No. I deny that. I'm young. You are not young. You are old. So
that's retirement. That's mistake number one.
Number one, you must not think you're too young. You are not too young. You start so early because it's a long-term process. The second one, and that's a very critical one, is that young people don't invest enough in themselves. The biggest investment you can make in life is investment in yourself.
Never outsource your personal development to anyone.
Your personal development is the biggest investment. I have a very wonderful experience I could share with young people. 2 years ago, my daughter was in SS2 in school. And then there was a provision in their school that they had to do an internship. Henry, my very good friend and brother and an associate, worked with the International Federation for Red Cross. And, we spoke to him and he, agreed to help us take her in. I think she did 6 weeks with this organization. While she was there, she engaged herself, she applied herself, and she found they had, courses online, certifications. I think she did 8 or 9.
Wow, within 6 weeks.
Within 6 weeks. She will come home and I'm telling her, you are not a staff. Focus on what you're there to do. Yeah, she did it. She got her certificates. We printed them out. Now, let's quickly fast forward. 2 weeks ago, she's in a college in Missouri, in her first year as a freshman. And she attended an interview in a gym. She got the job. And the requirements she didn't meet. The only way she met the requirements were the certificates she had. She had first aid. She had all. In fact, she was on top of our interview group.
Skills she acquired.
Those were the skills and knowledge she acquired.
So that's mistake number 2.
Number 2, you don't invest well in yourself. You need to start investment now. You are not too young to invest. The third one is that young people feel that they need to, expend their youthful energy on vain pursuit. So you get resources. It's amazing what comes into the hands of young people. Some of them are TikTokers, some of them are social media influencers.
Sir, this is not just young people, Dr. Lai. There are people in their 40s, early 40s who also still think they are young and doing this thing.
Absolutely, it cuts across all ages. But when you're young, there's a proverb in my native language in Yoruba that says that the first money that a young child makes, he will go and buy akara with it.
Do they still do that?
I'm sure they do. Now, they don't buy the akara that we sell that is sold on the street. They buy akaras in different things, in phones, in the latest, gadgets in town. It's very important. I met someone who belongs to the top 10 bracket of people who have a super, super retirement experience better than their, experience they had when they're working. And it's not because he works for a global
company
organization where he's well paid. He told me he's been planning for the last 30, 35 years. In fact, his first set of stocks were bought for him when he was in secondary school.
The question I will be asking you watching us now, have you buy stock for your child? Because these are deeper reflection questions. Because I'm sure somebody is planning that retirement. And when we talk about this, a lot of time you don't plan for yourself. And most time you don't even plan for your children or even your siblings. So if you have people who you think this is really going to be interesting for them to watch, I think you should just share this video with them. Back to you, Doctor. Did you remember that question? How do you make more money? That's quite a deep one. Dr. Lai, let's take the conversation further. The real question now is, what are the real actions people can start taking when it comes to retirement and how people can retire rich?
Making more money is about two things: your knowledge and your skills. And you need to acquire enough knowledge on how to make more money. And then you've got to have the skills to make those money that you want. Traditionally, we are all used to working to make money. And when you look at that, that is good. You work and you make money. That is one type of income. It's called wages. There are other types of incomes. What we typically get around us is people talk about multiple streams of income. There's not enough knowledge about multiple types of income. I will shock you with one fact that you probably can research. Every single rich person in the world does not have one type of income. They have multiple types of income. And they also have multiple streams of income. I'll quickly explain that. Absolutely. Thank you very much. So I just mentioned the fact that if you work, you make money from wages. Whether you work for yourself or you work for someone, you are paid.
Is that types?
That's types.
Okay. What are the other types?
So if you have a real estate investment, that is money you make from investment. That is another type of income.
Okay, 2.
If you have, consultancies you make money from consultancies. You don't work for anybody. That is another money you make from consultancy. That's another type of income. Okay. Inside your consultancies, you may have 10 consultancies. Those are streams of consultancies income. If you have investment into real estate, you have residential, you have commercial. Those are streams of income from one type of income. If you have 2, 3, 4 jobs you work, that means you have streams of income from one type of income. The richest people, the wealthiest people in the world, the most comfortable people financially, don't only have streams of income. They have types of income. There are 7 types of income, but you could have 1 million streams of income.
Okay, for those 7 types, let's hit them. 1, 2, 3, 4.
So you have wages, you have investment, 2, you have rent, 3, inheritances. Some people made money from inheritances. You have, you make money from your proprietary rights in terms of digital assets that you get paid royalties.
People should catch this.
Absolutely.
7 from your book.
Michael Jackson is still making money as we speak.
That is royalty.
As royalties. And that's why we must invest in things that will outlive us, that will be there making money for us when we are sleeping. You are not making money if you are not making money when you are sleeping.
When would that book be out?
It's out.
And
By
what's the book? What's the title?
the title is Retirement Reinvented and Deconstructed: Game-Changing Strategies for Blissful Retirement. And it's out. Actually, you're going to be able to pick it up this end of this month. It's on Lulu. You check in it on Lulu. You're going to be able to pick up the ebook. You're going to be also to pick up the soft and hardback. But that's the point around making money. We must make more money.
But I also think it's important that people take some of those your self-awareness, those self-assessment around retirement. And I think it would be good if you can call out your website. Of course, we'll also show it on the screen.
Is syaretire.tech. You search for SYA Retire Tech. It takes you to the website. It takes you to the financial calculator. It takes you to those assessments. You can do assessment on your overall readiness. You can do assessment on your entrepreneurship readiness. And I'll quickly talk about that. Entrepreneurship is the word that has been coined to define people who took up entrepreneurship to be able to retire well, or people who took up entrepreneurship in their retirement.
That's a word you trademarked.
We coined it, we trademarked it. The word entrepreneur and entrepreneurship has been trademarked in Nigeria. The first usage of that word in the global lexicon was what we coined. So that word you won't find. If you type it up, you're going to have the system telling you it does not exist.
That's quite interesting. Dr. Lai, I mean, a lot of people have really learned from this session. As we kind of ramp up this session on retirement, I mean, it's quite lengthy and enriching conversation. What would be your last 3 points you want to tell the people who are watching us now as in actions they need to take to retire rich?
I'll complete the first statement I made. It's not complete when I said you got to make more money. You got to keep more money. That takes discipline. It takes training. It takes knowledge. And you have to secure your asset. So on the part of making more money, I complete that statement. But
make more money,
keep more money, secure more money. You need securities. You need to hedge your assets. And it's very loaded. We need to unpack it at some other point in time.
I'm sure a lot of people will be asking what's hedging. I'm sure maybe one of this next episode we'll just focus on how do you hedge your asset. Thank you very much, Dr. Lai. And it's the Money Mindset with Razak. I want you to hit the subscribe button, share, like, and comment. But I have one more question for you. I'm sure you have a lot of questions on personal finance. Will you mind to drop it in the comment box? And if you want it anonymous, send it to the email moneymindsetwithrazak@gmail.com. I'm going to be gathering all your questions, and I'm going to respond to them in one of my future episodes. That's one opportunity you have to ask your questions and get direct feedback. It's the Money Mindset with Razak. Hello, Your Excellency.